Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, and welcome to our show, The American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host. Carl Fowler is co-host. Our guest today is Joe Vaughan. Joe is a coordinator for the Military Student Services. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this coordination?
I started working at IPFW in October of 2010, and at that time there was no military student services program at that time.
And what does it entail?
Basically what we do is we are a resource center for all of the military students and veterans who are attending classes at IPFW. We provide all of the information they need to get their educational benefits. There are several different chapters of benefits, and we provide all of the application information, the certification of their actual enrollment to the VA, and then we troubleshoot all of their files all the way along, making sure that they are getting actually paid for their classes, that kind of thing.
Good, good. Mm-hmm. You actually have people that's in the military now?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we have many students at IPFW are currently serving in the National Guard.
Yeah.
Either in the Army National Guard or Air Guard here in Fort Wayne or in other areas around the state, but they're still taking classes with IPFW.
Oh,
and we also have a large number of veterans who have already served and finished their time in service and are now going back to school.
Yeah. Usually veterans in their, late 20s or 30s or older than that sometimes.
Yes, actually we have a large number of older folks who are veterans who are using their benefits for the first time. They just maybe finished 20 years in the military and they're now coming back to school.
Oh.
So it's not unusual. We have an age range of course, the younger National Guard folks who are 18, 19, 20 years old, and we have folks that are in their 50s and older. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It really depends on when your service was and how long it's been since you've completed your service.
Yeah.
I was wondering now, you say National Guard, that's not necessarily active duty, right?
Yes, well, active duty has different kinds of benefits.
That's what
that would
I'm
be
wondering.
the reserves,
I'm
yes.
more familiar with the GI Bill.
Yes.
And we didn't know how that covers people that are actually in the service or
people who are actually in the service have different kinds of scholarships or tuition-based pay. For instance, if you're in the National Guard actively serving right now, there is a grant through the state of Indiana called the NSSG, and it basically, it's a National Guard NGSG, National Guard Supplemental Grant. And there's also through the Army National Guard, there is tuition assistance. And so if you're serving, you can get tuition assistance.
Well, that's good information for young people to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're listening, who would they contact if they...
They would contact me or our office. Our office number is 260-481-0517. Or they could come to our office at Kettler Hall, and that's on campus, and it's room 104. And that's the Military Student Services office.
Okay.
But they're welcome to come in at any time. No one needs an appointment. They can just stop in. I have 3 veteran students who are veterans who've deployed, and I have one student who is a National Guard currently serving. And we also have our school certifying official, Mr. Mark Haney, who is a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army Reserves.
Okay, well represented then.
Yes, yes. We've been very, very fortunate to have 4 student employees who are paid by the VA through their work-study program for veterans. Good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to afford all that wonderful help. And their experience is amazing.
Well, I can appreciate your job because I was a beneficiary of the GI Bill after I got out of service, but I didn't have anybody looking out for me.
That's right.
I had to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And the school, of course,
mm-hmm.
Took care of my grades and so forth, make sure I was qualified.
Yes.
But somebody to go to work for you,
well,
as a veteran, that's a big deal. Really.
It's very important. One of the reasons why the office was opened was because we found that there were a large number of National Guard and active duty folks coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan who now were eligible to use the GI Bill that had not been before. But they had never been to college. They had been out of high school for a number of years, mm-hmm. and trying to make that transition and reintegration into civilian life is very difficult by itself, but then to also add on going to college for the first time, which is a very ambiguous environment, not structured. It was very difficult for veterans to try to navigate that, trying to figure out what questions to ask. And so when they come to our office, we don't assume that they know. We start asking the questions. Where are you in your process? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? And we give them a checklist, and we walk them through the entire program of applying to the college, to the university at IPFW, and also applying for their GI Bill benefits. And we also help them determine, because many of them are also eligible for a number of programs, maybe 2 or 3 different ones. And so we help walk them through that so they can make their own decision about which benefit to use that would be most beneficial for them.
Okay, they're only allowed one?
They're only allowed one at a time.
So they have to pick and choose?
They have to choose. For instance, we have a lot of folks who qualify under the Montgomery GI Bill, and they've paid in the $1,200, et cetera, to do that. There's also the new post 9/11 GI Bill, and that's called Chapter 33. They're very similar programs. However, the Montgomery GI Bill pays directly to the person. The post 9/11 GI Bill pays the tuition directly to the school, and then pays a housing allowance and a book allowance on the side. So we help them walk through that program to make sure that they get the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Okay, now was your position mandated, or did you volunteer for it, or how did that position open up?
Well, this was really a wonderful opportunity. Prior to working at IPFW, I was employed at Purdue University for the Military Family Research Institute, and I was an outreach specialist there. And I was working in a program called Operation Diploma. And basically what we did was I asked a question of the National Guard one day in a meeting: are the universities ready for these soldiers and airmen and Coast Guards and Marines to coming back to enter? And so our director said, well, let's find out. So we did a survey, and we called all of the schools in Indiana and asked them the same number of questions in the same way. What are your policies and programs for veterans? How are you prepared to have them come back? And are you ready for this large number of students who are going to be hitting the doors? Because there were about 15,000 at that time coming back. And the Military Family Research Institute has, it functions largely through grants through the Lilly Endowment. And so when the folks from Lilly found out what we were doing and what we were interested in, they said, we want to help. And so they gave a grant to the Military Family Research Institute for $5.8 million to get us started. And so we started offering all the universities a stipend if they would come and talk with us about getting ready. And so several of them did. IPFW didn't jump in on that first group, but the second wave they did. And the second year we offered grants of up to $100,000 to get a military resources center started on each campus.
Okay.
And the second year IPFW applied for the grant and they received one, and they created this position that I'm in right now. And I applied for it, and wonderfully I was hired, and so it was my privilege to not only help them get the grant, but then also to have a position where I could provide direct service to our veterans.
Yeah, but you brought some good experience too then.
Yes, I've been working with
involved.
Yes, I've been working with veterans since 1986. I started counseling combat veterans who had chemical dependency issues, family relationship issues, and that was way back then. And so I brought that experience to the Military Family Research Institute, and then brought that again here to IPFW. So standing up the program was an exciting adventure, but I'm so very happy and proud of where it is now.
Yeah. Do you follow through then? You get them into the school. Do you follow through then to see how they're doing? Or?
Yes, sir. One of our mandates is to help make sure that as many of them stay enrolled and graduate. Yeah. We really want our veterans to be able to graduate and use the use their full benefit, but also to be prepared to be in the workplace, because they have to learn new skills generally. So yes, we do. We follow up with them. If they get into some kind of academic difficulty, they know they can always come to us and we'll talk with them. We help them find tutors if they need tutors. We have counseling services available free for them. We also refer them out in the community if they need counseling. My office is always an open door. They always know they can come in and sit down and talk to me. What's going on in their family, what's going on with their professors and their classes, and how do they need to make adjustments so that they'll be more successful.
So I remember when I first come back, I was so unsettled that I can imagine what these guys are going through too.
Yes. One of the great benefits that I've been able to enjoy is my training as a therapist, and my specialty in counseling was post-traumatic stress disorder. And also now traumatic brain injury. And so as students are coming in, it's not difficult for me to be aware very quickly whether or not they're having some real issues that they're struggling with. And so we can get them the appropriate kind of assistance.
Good.
Our office also is very fortunate to have a large reception area, and we've got some comfortable seating in there. We have 4 computers that they're allowed to use, a printer, a fax machine. They can use our phones. We stock the refrigerator with water and sodas and juice. We have a microwave where they can come in and sit down and have their lunch.
So you give them a good environment to relax?
Yes, it's a safe environment. They can come in and they can talk about their experiences. Sometimes we have folks who are experiencing an anniversary of a difficult time in their service. And so sometimes they just need to come in and sit down and talk to people who get it. And that's really the most valuable service that my student veterans provide, Mr. Haney provides, and of course myself as a family member.
You're a veteran yourself, aren't you?
I am not a veteran.
Not a veteran, okay.
No, I have a brother who is 100% disabled from Vietnam era, and I also have a son who is disabled, a veteran from his Iraq deployments.
Okay, that's too bad.
So I've been working with veterans since my brother got blown up in 1969.
I see, okay. Now, you do counseling there, you say? What about their classes and so forth this way? Let me relate a story.
Okay.
When I started the GI Bill, I started college, I had to go back and take classes for prerequisites, which you're familiar with.
Yes.
I used the GI Bill on the prerequisites, so that diminished from my so-called education term. Because you're allowed, what, 1 day for every day of service or something that way?
They have very different, it's very
different. It used to be that way, I think. So I was drafted for 2 years, so basically I was only eligible for 2 years schooling. But I had to use some of that 2 years taking prerequisites to get me eligible.
That's right.
So you involved in that type of stuff also? or what?
We do take a look at what they need to get started, and we work very closely with the admissions office and the advisors to make sure that our students are using their money most efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our students do choose to pay out of pocket for a certain number of classes if they can do it at a lower rate, and then as they come in and become more eligible and move up higher, we try to make sure that they still have enough benefits. The VA has been very gracious in helping some of our veterans who have hit the last semester before they graduate, and they're running out of benefits. They may only have a month left going
Right.
into the semester. So in some of those cases, we can extend it through the end of the semester to
Good.
make sure that
Good.
they graduate.
Thought that's running through my mind is if I was starting back to college and doing it all over again, I would run to your office.
Well, thank you.
I think what you're doing is very much needed
Yes,
and much appreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I would have appreciated it back then.
It's a strange environment for veterans to try to navigate from being they're coming right from Iraq or Afghanistan, and they have a very strong up-tempo, very high-paced environment. And then they come into the university, and they may only have 2 classes on a day.
Right.
And I've actually gotten phone calls from some of our veterans who said, "Ma'am, I have a class at 9 o'clock, and I have a class at 2 o'clock. What would you like me to do from 10 o'clock until 2? What is my responsibility?" Well, your responsibility is to do whatever you choose, to study, to homework, to meet with other students, be involved in student organizations. And then the response is, no, I need to know what building I'm supposed to be in and for how long and at what time do I need to meet with anyone. And so I have to explain that ambiguous part of being in college and making their own decisions. And so that's another purpose that our office provides, is if they don't know where they want to go or be, they can come be in our office. They can come and sit and study there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Very good. One of the difficulties I had when I got out of service, went back, started into college and that, is I didn't really know how to study, how to learn. Because they didn't teach that in high school.
That's right.
You just muddle your way through, you know. And that's what I did in college, basically, to muddle my way through, and it wasn't good. I learned a lot, don't get me wrong, and I valued what I did learn.
Yes.
But that assistance that you were providing would have come in very, very handy.
Well, one of the other things that we have is we try to find veterans who are doing very, very well in their classes, and they're willing to tutor for a fee or not for a fee. So a lot of them just volunteer their time. And it really helps if you have someone tutoring you who knows where you've been, can talk to you about those kinds of experiences, as well as relate to the subject material that they have to learn.
Right.
And so we have a lot of programs on campus through our student success centers to try to help them learn those study skills, time management, how to do stress management, how to arrange their day, how to navigate the internet system, the Blackboard system that all the classes are on, particularly if they're doing things like online classes. You know, it can be quite a muddle if you're not used to it. And they have to be willing to ask for help. And so our office is also designed to find those folks who don't ask for help, who don't want to ask for help. And we say, you could probably use some help. We've got some guys over here. We've got some ladies over here who could help you work through that difficulty.
Right.
So that's another thing that we do. Sometimes also they meet with individuals who may not agree with their philosophy in life, maybe anti-war, maybe anti-military. And so part of my job is to help negotiate those relationships and help make sure that the faculty and staff are informed about what kinds of issues our veterans are facing when they come into the classroom. We also work very, very closely with the Students, Services for Students with Disabilities office, because we have a large number of students now who are veterans who are coming back with mobility issues, traumatic brain injury issues, difficulties just from different wounds that they've had.
Yeah.
Right. I would think that a veteran coming back going to school, though, like I say, there might not be a structure there for them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the possibility of getting an education compared to what they've been through in the service, should be a piece of cake.
Well, see, that's the
I mean,
thought process. It should be, but
it's difficult. But if they apply themselves.
Yes, yes, and that is the other part of this thing, is they have to be willing to apply themselves, and they also have to be willing to do that day-to-day work. You know, we can help set it out for them, but if they decide that, you know, I'd rather just stay home and watch television today, or I'd rather go out with my friends or do something, part of the function is you have to show up.
Right.
You know, you just have to show up for class. You have to show up for class, you have to come prepared, you have to do your homework, and we will do everything we can to meet you.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that happens.
Okay.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, Carl, but it's altogether different.
Well, I think in terms of student veterans, and you know, they're looking forward to a career in civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason they go to college is to prepare themselves for that career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also familiar with our universities down south here, Purdue, Indiana, you know, name a few of them, Ball State. And kids go there maybe not to get an education, but to party. You have that party atmosphere on the weekends and so forth this way, and you know, we all know what goes on and so forth. The students and the book learning is only part of their experience.
That's right.
I don't think you see that here at IPFW.
Not
I
as
think
much.
you see students that are earnest in getting education.
Well, that's one of the great things about our student veteran population. And basically, IPFW has a student population that's generally a little bit older, and they have a lot more responsibility.
Right.
Because they're not living on campus, most of them. Those who live near campus are in our campus apartments. But a lot of our students are commuting, and they're working full-time. They have families, they're married, and they come to IPFW to definitely get an education. And so they're on campus primarily to take the class and then go home and work, or go home and take care of their family, or both. And so our students are very, very busy, and most of them don't have time to be partying and hanging out.
Right.
You know, that's very important. The social aspect of learning to integrate or reintegrate with civilian population is also one of our issues, is we need to help them navigate those relationships. It's not about having rank on your shoulder. It's not always about where have you been. It's about who are you today, and what do you want to become, and how do you want to work. One of the benefits of us having student veterans in our office is it gives me an opportunity to help teach them how the rules work in civilian employment. It's a little bit different. Our time schedules are different. Our expectations are different. But I can tell you that one of the things I appreciate so much is when I give my guys a task, a mission to accomplish. They're full bore on it. They find the way to do it. They accomplish it. They get it done in record time. And I go, I thought I was going to keep you busy for a while. But you know, they see it as something to be accomplished right now, and they get it done. And I just really appreciate their honor and their integrity for doing that.
I think that's one thing you learn in the military. Do it and get it done.
That's right. My other issue is I always try to make sure if you don't understand exactly how to do it, or if I haven't given you clear directions, please come back to me and don't try to figure it out always on your own. There is help. It's okay here to say, I don't know how to do that. I've never done that before. If you need training, I'd be happy to get you the training. So we're always learning new skills. We have a booklet that I tasked 2 of our student veterans with doing. It's a handbook for our office. It's at the printers right now. I'm sorry I couldn't bring you a copy. But one of our student veterans is a photography student, and another of our students is working toward a degree in journalism. And so I gave them the opportunity to create a booklet that talks about all of our services and the other offices that we collaborate with, so that we can have a comprehensive thing of information to give to each veteran as they come in. And they're going to get credit for the photography, they're going to get credit for their writing and text. And that's something really great that they can put on their resume, that they did this. They'll have an actual concrete example of their work, but it also gave them something to have pride and ownership in.
Yeah.
And that's important too.
Yes, very, very important.
We got a few minutes yet. Is there anything you'd like to repeat or dwell on?
One of the things that is important to our office is, of course, you know, after our grant was ended, we had 2 years of grants. The part of the stipulation with the grant was that IPFW had to embed our program within their infrastructure. So then they became financially responsible for our office. There are a lot of wonderful programs and opportunities that I would like to offer to our student veterans, but because I don't have the financial resources, I can't do that. The university has been very, very gracious in providing for us and giving me a full-time staff person, and the VA helps us out with students. But one of the things that we did do is we created a gift account through our foundation at IPFW, so that if there are folks who would like to make a donation towards any of these services for veterans, they can do that. And they can either contact myself, Joe Vaughan, at Military Student Services, or our Vice Chancellor for Advancement, and her name is Wendy Kobler. And she would be happy to help walk them through that system of doing that. Any of the gifts that are given would go directly toward veterans. We want to make sure that we provide directly for our student veterans, first and foremost. And they can make an unspecified or undesignated gift towards our office, and we would be able to use that to provide programming.
Oh, great, yeah.
Another program that we have just started that I'm really excited about is a creative writing group for folks who have post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's called the Ladder Up Group. And this is based on a workbook that was written by a Marine veteran called Silouan Green. And it is a book about how to pull yourself up from the bottom, the depths of depression and post-traumatic stress, to build yourself a new life. And we're using creative writing to have people answer those difficult life questions about where they are now, where they've been, where they want to go. And this group has been meeting now once a week since the beginning of the semester. And we have a group of folks from the community, from faculty, from staff, and students. Some have served in the military, some have post-traumatic stress from other events in their lives. And they're writing poetry, creative stories, essays, you name it. And what we're going to do after a certain amount of time, we're going to publish an anthology or a group of those writings for folks to see what post-traumatic stress looks like for individuals.
Okay.
So you not only provide an area where they can come into and, like you say, relax or use a computer or study or whatever they want to do. Do the veterans get together in those areas? I mean, is there interaction between the veterans?
Yes.
Okay. I just wondered.
Okay. Joe, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, sir.
And thank you for the service you're doing for our veterans.
Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate you showing up today.
I hope you enjoyed our show. Remember, freedom is not free. So if you see a veteran or someone in uniform, just walk up to them and shake their hand and say thank you for your service. Thank you and good night.
Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities